Again, kind of like I've been saying, it sounds a little bit like I'm on repeat, but just proud of the guys. Just they continue to battle, they continue to fight. They continue to do what they're asked, and keep banding together, gelling, keep getting stronger. I thought again it was another great first half, one of our better ones. Even with the slow start and a little bit of a lull when they went zone there, I thought all in all we did what we needed to do. 42 points, shot it well. A desperation three at the end from almost half court would have kept them at 23. I think it's really what became the difference in the game. Just kind of that late surge in the middle to late into the first half. And but again, I was proud of them. Told them in the locker room, this is actually it's kind of the third game in a row they've been able to have a little bit of a lead, or second game in a row, have a lead at half, and kind of earn that. You earn that, and then now, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to continue to kind of pull back? And at Colorado State, with as high-powered as they are, I thought we were a little timid, but we made a few shots to kind of stop their run, and then today I thought we just kind of stepped off the gas just a little, but again, kept it at arm's length, couple possession game the entirety of the second half. So it's clear that we learned, we recognized it, and again, just proud of them.
You said that you wanted to come out with defensive intensity in the opening minutes like you did at Colorado State. Do you feel like you did that effectively tonight, and that was the reason for the fast start?
Oh, no question. I thought, and we talked about it's obviously it's a prideful group. It's Coach Alford, Steve Alford is going to be a legend. He's a legend. And, just because you go out there and you see Sherfield and Washington out, you cannot think that means that they don't have something planned. They're not going to come out fighting. And we told them, if it's we actually said, if it's 4-4 at the end of the first media, guys, we're fine. As long as we're playing hard and we're not matching their energy, we're fine. But that starting group is kind of taking that to heart. They've now had a couple great starts defensively. But we just got to keep kind of figuring things out offensively so we can maybe get a couple good more looks. But, again, in the first half, they were 10 of 11 from the line, and then that three at the end, that's 13 of their 26 right there. So when we kept the ball in front, when we played for each other, I thought it might have even been our best half.
Couple double-digit wins in a row now. Bryce is playing well. The role players starting to chip in. You feel good about where the team is now at this point in the season?
Well, you clearly just jinxed it, so not happy anymore. But no, again, it just goes back to being proud of them because they've come in every day. We've talked multiple times about injuries and COVID pauses and audibles, and they just continue to come to work. They continue to have a great attitude about it. We've got guys that are a little chippy, but they're chippy because they want to be out there playing more. They want to be helping more. And we don't mind that one bit. If you want to get out there because you want to go dive on the floor and help the team win, we're all for you being frustrated or wanting to get out there or bothering me to get out there. But as you know, Utah State's, man, they're on fire right now. They're playing really well. They play really hard. It's a really tough place to play. So we've got to understand on Thursday that we got our work cut out for them or for us, and our prep's got to be identical. Our 2-day prep for Colorado State was huge. The guys had set the tone from day one of that prep. The guys had great prep for Reno. And if they have the same prep, we'll talk about it. We'll be open with it. We'll have a chance. And if we don't, it'll be tough.
Kevin, you talked about the double-digit lead there in the first half. Then the second half, obviously, they made a little bit of a run there. What was the mindset? What was the approach right around that 13, 14-minute mark of the second half where they were basically within 5-6 points in the game?
Yeah, I thought we just got a little timid, and we get to a point where the ball sticks a little bit. We kind of enter a mode of not messing up, not taking a questionable shot. But again, we haven't had a lot of those experiences as a group, and so I would love to continue to have more and see if we can continue to get better from that situation. But again, I think they cut it to 7-5. I mean, the guys buckled down, did what they needed to do. I mean, if Royce Ham doesn't block that dunk, to cut it to 7 with, I think, 2 minutes left, I mean, what do we do? We're looking around like, oh, man, this might go a different direction. But he stays with it, makes it play, and at the end of the day, probably one of the many winning plays the guys made late. But yeah, we've got to kind of just continue to talk about that. Just you know, when you feel like you're hesitant, you got to move. You got to cut. You can't stand still if you're straight-legged. But I think a lot of that just comes from experience, having those opportunities.
Coach, sometimes when a team has a huge win like you guys had on the road, sometimes the next game is a letdown. Obviously, that wasn't the case tonight. Can you talk about that, the mental aspect of this game, not getting too high after that huge win you guys had?
Yeah, I think, you know, honestly, my concern wasn't with the guys as a whole. My concern was even Bryce putting a little bit of pressure on himself, you know, National Player of the Week. And to come in here and you know, like, you never know what would he consider a drop-off. You know, is he concerned? Is he nervous about that? I knew the guys would have energy. You know, Reno game, knew it would be a good crowd. The guys were excited. I mean, they were, you know, foaming at the mouth to get back to work. But I mean, Bryce again answered the bell. I think he was patient. He didn't force anything early. He didn't go try to get 42. And I thought that was the maturity that he showed in that. It was incredible. I mean, National Player of the Week. I'll have to ask him what it feels like. Never had that opportunity, but I thought he did what he needed to do for UNLV to win today, and I just think that's awesome.
When Williams is back in the lineup, do you feel like it takes a lot of pressure off the offense, particularly Bryce?
I think so. You know, when we played two bigs most of the night at Colorado State, obviously Bryce had a lot of the scoring load, but Vic and Royce and David and Reese, when he got in there, made so many winning plays offensively. I think that helped Bryce as well. So I think there's a little bit of a balance there that we can try to find. Donovan's ability to shoot the ball, you know, kind of is the easy, not answer, but the simple part of just spreading things out, you know, finding him and pulling the defenders away from the rim. But then also you got size and strength when you got two bigs out there that are incredibly athletic. So I think if we can just continue to find a little bit of a balance, it can be really tough to prepare for. Because even Reno, you know, when they got two 7-footers out there, it's a whole different prep and mindset than when they go 4 guards. And I think we can be similar, just maybe without the height.
You talked about the prep, and they looked a lot more engaged in understanding what the game plan was in the Colorado State game and tonight against Reno. Do you think you guys have turned a corner where they're understanding what you expect, what your staff expects as a prep, week by week, as opposed to earlier in the season? It kind of looked like guys weren't as sure as they are tonight and as they were against Colorado State.
Yeah, well, you know, as you and I have talked about, even you know, on our own, our biggest concern was always the amount of time we'd have. And with that, you know, the biggest concern within that is terminology, because when you're out there and things are flying around and people are running around and you're hearing the terminology, you have to think for a second. And when you're in a program for years, it's different. It's just muscle memory and it goes. But so I think that kind of bond between, you know, the terminology, the approach we have, you know, the tone we have as coaches, I think is just continuing to get better. And I think a lot of that does go into practice, because a lot of stuff they're just doing based on what they've done now for 3 months or 4 months, and they're not having to stop and think. They're not pausing. They're not being hesitant, and I think that's a large reason why they've had such good defensive halves.
Kevin, you had 4 double-digit scores tonight, great scoring balance. Talk a little bit about that. Is that a little bit of a point of emphasis for you coming into this?
Yeah, but we don't. It's emphasis, I think, from us as a staff and how we try to get the ball moving and maybe what we try to attack who we're playing. But yeah, I mean, if you would have told me in Fort Collins that you're going to have 3 double-digit scores and one's David and one's Webb, you know, I might have thought it'd be a little longer bit of a night. And so, yeah, having 4 balanced double-digit scores and is great. But, I mean, all we preach is making the right play. I think we had 15 assists on 23 field goals. That's awesome. I mean, we'll take that every single night, and shows that the guys are sharing the ball and they're moving. You know, we talk a lot about when the ball moves, body's got to move. And so they're continuing to do that, continuing to get better at that. But it's just about making the right play. That's what we emphasize to the guys. We show them on film, and they see it. They're an older group. They get it.
Over here. So we talked at the half about emotion and trying to curtail it a little bit. So what'd you tell them at the half, and then what'd you think about how they came out?
Well, I thought, you know, obviously that was an officiating crew that has a lot of games and a lot of experience. I thought they handled it great. They told our guys not to talk. They talked, so they teed them up. You know, and then they got, at the end of the half, they caught us on the way back out and kind of explained what was going on, and we told the guys, and they kind of settled down. But you know, you want that energy, you want that fire, you just kind of want it toward what we're trying to do. You know, go grab a teammate and get them going. You know, don't worry about the opponent, but at the same time, you got to kind of find that balance and go from there. But again, the energy and the effort in the first half is what we're looking for.
You did some coaching, you know, throughout, obviously, a lot of coaching, but with like 8 or 10 minutes left, I saw you and Royce in a pretty spirited discussion. He was going back at you, and then he went back in. You clapped for him a couple of times. So what was going on in the conversation in terms of, you know, putting Royce back in?
Yeah, Royce is he's a passionate guy when it comes to basketball. When it comes to playing, I think he plays as hard as anybody I've ever been around, you know, coach or player. And you know, he wants to play. He wants to help his team. And sometimes, you know, he'll look at me and I'll say, you know, I got to tell him, I said, Royce, you just played 7 straight minutes. Like, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break here. And I'll be like, I know, but I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And you know, you're like, I know. And we believe that you can. But, you know, you got to take a break here. It's okay. Get some water and be ready. You're about to go back in anyway. But again, it goes back. We tell the guys a lot, like, if you want to play, you know, do things that get results. And so when he went back in, he had a big and one, had a big rebound, ended up getting what was probably a game-sealing block. And so, you know, he bet on himself, and it proved to be great for us.
With this new group, a lot of transfers, obviously, you know, how do you kind of get across the point of how important this rivalry is, especially since you've obviously played in it yourself?
Yeah, Coach Chappelle actually talked to him. You know, he asked a couple of the guys, you know, who's your rival? You know, where you came from. And, you know, they all mentioned, you know, who's the player that you didn't like? You know, they all had somebody. And I think, you know, that might help, but as all rivalries are, you know, they're built through time, you know, hearing about them, seeing them on the news, seeing them, you know, with these guys on social media, you know, and all of that, you know, playing them in the summer maybe or back home, because a lot of them got, you know, similar backgrounds or AAU, and then, but it's one of those things that's built through time, but I thought they clearly understood it. The crowd, I mean, if you guys write anything, please write about how unbelievable that crowd was, and the energy, and the student section. I mean, my goodness, that was so much fun to come out of the tunnel and just see how much life there was in the Thomas and Mack. And I thought there was a direct correlation to the guys, and hopefully we can keep doing that throughout the year. But I guess that was a pretty long answer to your question. But you know, you tell them, you bring it up, you talk about it, but you don't want to put too much emphasis on it, because if they don't understand, they're not going to understand where your kind of fire comes from if something's different.
Definitely, and then, but one guy who does have history in this rivalry, obviously, is Bryce. He's never won this game before. Could you kind of sense a little extra juice from him today, that, you know, knowing that he only had 2 more chances to beat Reno? Oh,
absolutely. I mean, Bryce had a smile as big as I've ever seen on his face after the win. You know, even you know, National Player of the Week. He just kind of, you know, did his shrug and, you know, had his little shy smile, but I mean, he could not keep a smile off his face in the locker room. He was so excited, and he told the guys, he was like, "That's my first win against Reno," and the guys all, you know, swarmed him and they were celebrating with him. But no, it meant a lot to Bryce without question. Going through a couple of years, not being able to beat him.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bryce, how does it feel to get that win over your in-state rival?
Man, it feels amazing. It's my first time getting this win. You know, all credit to the guys. You know, they didn't have their best player tonight, and, you know, we didn't take them lightly. We still stepped up. Everybody stepped up. Great to have Donovan back, and, you know, I feel like we played well today.
It's 2 in a row for you now, 2, you know, pretty impressive wins for you guys. Do you feel like you have something going at this point in the season?
Yeah, I feel like we're clicking a little bit. Got a tough one on Saturday against Utah State. You know, they're probably playing the best right now in our conference. So, you know, we just got to keep doing what we're doing, keep getting better every day, and get ready for that game.
Donovan, how did it feel your first time back after the injury? How did you feel, and what was sort of the process leading up to the game to decide to play?
There was a lot of uncertainty. Like, it was kind of like a game time decision. So I don't know. I think ever since when the guys got back from Colorado on Saturday, I just been with the trainer every day since then, trying to figure out if I was going to be healthy enough, strong enough, and it was kind of more of a mental thing. I had to get over that mental block of coming back off a knee injury, and I think with all the work that we put in over the past, 3 days, I mean, I think that gave me all the confidence I needed to come out and play.
You feel good now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bryce, you guys have a bunch of guys in double digits tonight. How good was it for you guys offensively, particularly in the first half, to get Jordan going there in the first half? He was a big part of what you guys were able to do on the offensive end.
It felt good. Jordan's a great shooter. We tell him to shoot, and he stepped up today. He played real well. Mike also played well. Of course, Donovan, Royce, everybody played their part, and I felt like it was good today.
Can't leave out Lil Keyshawn. Shout out to
Lil
him, too.
Keyshawn.
Bryce, how much pressure does it take off of you offensively, just having him in the lineup and all the things he could do on both ends of the floor, but particularly on the offensive end?
It's great. I mean, he's a great player, great scorer. It just helps a whole lot. Defense really doesn't have to key into me the whole time, and I'd be able to have somebody, I could trust and, pass to.
Bryce, talk about the crowd tonight. How do you feel about the crowd?
It was amazing. It's a rival game. We need them to come back out more. It was a great atmosphere, and we enjoyed it a lot.
Speaking of players who played well, David Muoka gave you guys some really good minutes early on. Either of you guys, what's it like to see him really kind of coming into his own?
I always give a lot of credit to Dave. At the start of the season, we kind of didn't really know what we were going to get from him. He came from a place where he was Defensive Player of the Year. So I think a lot of expectations were put on him early. And, credit to him, he took it on the chin. Every day he's in the gym working. And so I think, with some guys, I know personally, like sometimes it takes time. Like sometimes you really have to, come up to a different level and really understand like what you can really bring out of yourself. So I think the more work that Dave has put in, the more confidence he's gained. And he's been a critical part in a lot of the wins recently.
Definitely. And then, Bryce, what happened in that second half, just at the beginning, when they kind of blitzed you?
I don't know. I mean, they just came and blitzed. They did a good job. I mean, just got to do better, being able to be ready for that trap and, have players to also throw it out to.
Anybody else? Thanks, fellas.
Thank you.